I told myself it wasn't really a lie. Just a delay. That's how the worst decisions in my life always start, with a softened word I can swallow. Delay, not deception. Pause, not prison. I thought I only needed a little time. Just a few weeks to remind Noah what we had before the distance, before the late nights at the studio, before the way his phone started living face down on the table like it owed me nothing. People say, a baby changes everything. I clung to that phrase like driftwood, convincing myself I wasn't drowning. I was just floating. Noah and I had been together for 3 years. He wasn't the loudest guy in the room, but he was the calmest. He had this presence that felt like exhaling after holding your breath. Long hands, quiet voice, a laugh he didn't give away easily. He designed sets for theater productions and indie films. Measured spaces, deep colors, scenes that told you who lived there before a single line was spoken. When we met, I was the opposite. Loud, magnetic, a storm in heels. I could make strangers confess secrets in grocery store lines. He liked that about me. I liked that he didn't need me to be more than I was. But somewhere along the way, my bigness became the whole point, and his steadiness started to feel like a seatbelt I couldn't unbuckle. We began arguing about stupid things. His mugs in the sink. His focus time. His coworkers pinging him at midnight, lighting his face with a glow I used to think belonged to me. He said I filled silence with problems. I said he made me feel invisible.
He suggested therapy.
I said therapy meant admitting I was wrong, and I wasn't wrong. I was lonely. One night, I threw out the word break like a glass into a fireplace, expecting him to panic, to beg. He didn't. He just said, calm as ever, if we do this, we do it thoughtfully. That infuriating steadiness again. He slept on the couch. I lay in bed writing fake speeches in my head where he came crawling back. 2 days later, my period was late. Not dramatically. Just 4 days. But enough to make me feel that glassy, hollow what if. I bought a test and hid it in the cabinet like a grenade. When I took it, the result blinked negative. Empty. And that's when the lie was born. I took a photo of the test. Printed it. Drew the faintest second line with my brow pencil. Stared at it until my stomach twisted. Delay, not deception, I told myself. Just time. Just enough time for him to look at me like he used to. Like I was the stage light that never burned out. I planned it like a rom-com reveal. Dinner at his favorite restaurant, the little card that said, hello, love. He was late, of course, but when he got there, I slid the card across the table. He smiled before even opening it. That's who he is. He always appreciates effort. When he read the inside, I expected shock, then joy, then that kind of fear that makes people cling tighter. Instead, his face just settled. Quiet. The kind of quiet he used when a client suggested something that would ruin a story. Are you sure? He asked gently. Not suspicion. Just practical. I nodded too quickly. I have the test. I slipped the photo into his hand like a bribe. He studied it. We should see a doctor. To confirm. He squeezed my hand. I want to do this right. I hadn't thought about next steps. Blood work. Appointments. Ultrasounds. Real things. But I forced a smile and said, of course. The internet will teach you how to lie if you're desperate enough. I read forums, memorized fake symptoms. Metallic taste, nausea, stretching cramps. I booked a private ultrasound clinic that sells keepsake videos. They asked for dates. I guessed. They asked about symptoms. I repeated my rehearsed lines. Noah held my hand in the waiting room, glowing. A toddler toddled by. A woman cried into her boyfriend's shirt. I felt like a thief in a museum. The tech pressed cold gel, moved the wand, and the screen showed nothing. Gray smears, black circles. She was kind. Sometimes it's early. Follow up with your OB. She printed a picture anyway, a meaningless oval. Noah kissed my temple. We'll go slow. We'll be careful. We'll tell our families when it's time. At home, he made a spreadsheet. Prenatal vitamins. Insurance. Cribs. Checkboxes. He was building a life I knew didn't exist. I almost confessed right there. But instead, I told myself, tomorrow. And then tomorrow never came. The lie metastasized. He told his sister. She texted us exclamation points and baby photos. My mother called me, sobbing with joy. Noah had called her personally. I know what kind of mother you raised. I can't wait to see her as a grandmother. Her joy echoed through the line while I lay on the floor with the truth in my throat like a stone. Every morning, he made me toast and read about prenatal vitamins. Every night, he fell asleep with his hand on my stomach like it was a promise. I kept delaying. Tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. Until 2 weeks had passed, and I was trapped. Then came the moment I couldn't plan for. He came home early on a Wednesday, grinning. We got extended. Bigger venue, better hours.
Oh.
And I called your OB. She had a cancellation. We've got an appointment Friday.
Surprise?
I froze. That night, I Googled, how long can you lie before a doctor knows? How to fake a miscarriage. I even laid out a white towel on the bathroom floor, imagining spotting, imagining telling him nature had stolen what was never there. I couldn't do it. I put the towel away. Friday came. The OB remembered us. She asked questions. I repeated my forum lines. She wheeled in the ultrasound machine. The silence in that room was louder than any sound. No heartbeat. No yolk sac.
Just nothing.
She said, either your dates are off or this isn't viable. Noah gripped my hand, tears streaming silently. I cried too. Finally with honesty, because this grief was something real I could borrow. He whispered, we'll get through this. But the lie had its own timer. The next day, I accidentally sent a text meant for my friend Sasha to Noah instead. I stole a sonogram from Pinterest. If he asks, I'll say I was scared. We can reset. We can fix us. I realized too, late we still shared iCloud. 10 minutes later, the front door opened. He walked in carefully, like approaching a wild animal. Held out his phone. Is this real? Habit made me want to lie again. But I looked at his face. The steadiness, the shock buried under self-control. And I broke.
Yes. Elite.
I was afraid. I thought if we had something big, you wouldn't leave me. The truth poured out jagged and bloody. I used a baby to keep you. I stole your trust. I was selfish. I didn't know how to stop. He inhaled sharply, nodded once. You used a baby. He repeated it like writing it into history. There isn't a however long to fix this. There's before this and after. And I can't stay. He packed quietly. A few shirts. His sketch pads. He clipped the leash on Juniper, our rescue mutt. I protested. She was ours. He shook his head. She needs stability. It was about the dog, and also about me. And then he left. Noah didn't smear me. Didn't rage. Didn't post screenshots. He told our families enough truth, asked them to give me space. His sister texted, I'm sad for you both. I hope you figure out what made you do this. Kinder than I deserved. Meanwhile, Noah thrived. The show moved to a bigger venue. Instagram lit up with photos of his sets. Stunning, genius, transporting. He posted Juniper sprawled on her back, safe, happy. Healed in ways I wasn't. I started therapy because silence in the apartment was unbearable. My therapist asked about control, fear, whether love is a verb or an audience. I said, I don't know. She said, at least that's honest. That's what I cling to now. Honesty. I go home, make tea, sit in silence, without filling it with lies. On the fridge, there's still a magnet shaped like a heart, holding nothing. I leave it empty. It feels right. Because I burned down my life trying to keep someone who only ever asked me for the truth. And when he left, he didn't leave in flames. He left quietly, cleanly, carrying the dog who needed him most. That's what real strength looks like. And me? I'm left staring at the wreckage, learning that sometimes survival doesn't mean saving what you broke. It means sitting with the silence and not lying to yourself anymore.